Good afternoon. This is Barbara, the East Coast Dragon Lady, coming to you Sunday just after midday, after what I can only describe as an adventure to the other side of the state of Massachusetts. Wow, is all I'm going to say. I knew that some stuff was going to be revealed. I knew that something new was going to happen for me. So I think I mentioned before I was invited out to Western Massachusetts to the path of, let me just get this name right, the path of the Masters, two wonderful women who I met earlier this year who put on the first expo out in Western Mass. So my heartfelt thanks to Jodie and Dr. Kay. Both practice past life regression, the Dolores Cannon method. But having met something to do with dragons, my oracle deck, they invited me out to be part of a dragon weekend. And on Saturday, it was about dragons, and I had agreed to be, well, first of all, we thought we were going to do a past life regression, but it was very evident from Friday, which I'll talk about, that I probably didn't need to go to a past life just to do a hypnotherapy session, which was recorded and that I am actually going to share. I've watched it once and I was blown away. Often, if any of you out there channel, sometimes you know what you're talking about, other times you don't. I was sort of, most of it I heard and I couldn't believe, like, the voice that came out of me. It actually felt that it came out of my solar plexus once I'd connected with this being. And the one thing we didn't do is we didn't ask who it was. It was a dragon. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But so for me to go out, I live literally in the northern end of Massachusetts, and I'm literally 2 minutes from New Hampshire. And I was going out to Western Massachusetts, which is normally about a 2-hour drive. But of course it was Friday and I'd completely forgot that, Friday can be busier. So it turned into a 2.5-hour drive, which was fine. I actually did it. I got there and there was no sort of big issues, but I did, of course, ask the dragons to accompany me. And I had the same crazy cowboy dragon that was trying to lasso everybody. But we got there without any sort of anything happening other than the slow traffic, and had a wonderful 2-hour session with a group of people with Drakey Soul out in, I think it is East Hampton that we went to, because we went over the mountain. I had no expectations. I wasn't even sure what was actually going to happen on Friday. Any of you have followed me for a while, I go with my gut, I go with my instinct, I go where the dragons tell me to go. And this was one of their, you need to go and go. So when we were so apparently, if you're local to that area, often people talk about going over the mountain, and there's a huge, I guess it's a hill, well, it's a hill, but it's a mountain. So they said, oh, it's only 5 minutes over the mountain. So I wasn't even thinking dragons at that point. And as we started to go over the hill, I caught out the corner of my eye the mountain, and I was like blown away by the fact that actually this mountain was a huge dragon, a huge green dragon, and he wanted his presence known. That's sort of the feeling I got. He was like, hey, I'm here. So anyway, we did a fabulous past life regression to meet our dragons, and I think everybody, was about 12 people there. Everybody met some version of a dragon. Most people met a full dragon. I had a very interesting experience of sort of being lost at some point in this past, like when you go back. But when I walked into the cave, there was this beautiful sort of silver dragon who was curled around in the cave in a pool of water, and this dragon like climbed up onto my lap and sort of sat with me, which was amazing. we were asked if there was anything that we were taking back with us. And I was gifted a dragon egg, and it was probably about this size, and it was silver. And the message I got with that was it was a placeholder. And I was like, okay, I'm like, I don't know what that means, but they gave me a dragon's egg as a placeholder. So that can be interpreted in many ways. But then when I was trans-channeling the dragon on Saturday, they asked, why was I given an egg as a placeholder? And it was because I'm going to be gifted that. I will get a dragon's egg. I actually have one. If you remember, I actually bought a dragon's egg, and it's actually purple, so maybe I'm getting another one. But that I thought was fascinating and completely unexpected. I wasn't expected to be gifted a dragon's egg. So then I stayed at this most amazing place. It's actually an Airbnb that Jodie owns, in a big old Victorian mansion. And wow, the energy. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I was thinking I went with the intention of it was dragons, but I really felt that the house wanted to speak. There was just like so much, I mean, beautiful high ceilings room. It was 3 stories. It was in Hollyoak. And you could just feel like it was the past that was speaking to me. I did a 5-minute live video yesterday. Sort of, you were up at the I was up at the level of the top of the oak tree, and you could feel that just the beautiful energy. So on the Friday night when I went to bed, I laid in bed, and then I was literally vibrating. And I first of all, I thought it was, sometimes when you lay in the wrong position and you're like, the nerve twitches, that's how it started. And then like my whole body was vibrating. And then this huge portal opened above, that they called it the mansion on the hill. That was the that was the name I was given. This was the mansion on the hill because it is on a hillside. And this orange portal opened, and they said, this is opening for tomorrow. This is a portal for the mansion on the hill, and this is opened so the dragons will come in through the portal tomorrow. And I was like, wow. And I really thought then that there was going to be this ongoing conversation, and then they let me go to sleep, thankfully. And it was just, and I had a very peaceful night's sleep. And a lot of if you go somewhere strange, sometimes you don't, but I literally went to sleep and woke up in the morning, and I just had the morning to, I worked with some of my oracle decks. I asked for some messages. I just spent time with myself, which any of you know, if you own a home, I have my younger son that I'm his caretaker, just because he needs somebody there most of the day, but he can manage a day or two without me. It was just very peaceful. And unfortunately, it was raining and it was a little bit cold. So I didn't even feel like I wanted to go out for a walk. But I just spent time with myself, which was, again, a gift to myself, and really sort of thinking about what was going to happen in the afternoon. Beautiful group of people showed up that Dr. Kay and Jodie interact with. They're obviously a very connected group, so that was fabulous. We had a good age range. We had some younger people and sort of people around my age and in the middle, and it was just beautiful energy. So I talked about my oracle deck. I actually did some readings at the end, and then we did they hypnotized me, and I channeled. So this, I knew when I first laid on the table, it felt like it felt like hands. Actually, I felt the weight of hands on my hands, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I could feel the heaviness of the hands. And then I think what happened was that the dragon like embodied me, because then I felt like I had hands that, well, they were claw, well, they were like three, I don't know, but it felt like three um, sort of paws, but very heavy on my hands. So I was very aware that there was a presence with me. And then, as I said, when I did some hypnosis, which you'll see if you watch the video. It's about 40 minutes long. It is just concentrated on me lying down, but it's what comes through that is like just amazing. I nearly fell off the table a couple of times when I heard sort of the being, I'm going to say. It was a dragon. It was a very high frequency dragon. He was referring to, and it was a he, referring to a lot of galactic stuff. So he felt like he was a high frequency galactic dragon. And we still, afterwards, we were like, why didn't we ask who he was, what his name was? But we also know that often dragons, they say they have names that we can't even say. So they will give us, a human name, or they will, offer it to us, or we can find one. And I have a feeling, a bit like when I encountered the crow, after about 3 or 4 days, the crow gave me his name. So I have a feeling I keep getting some sort of sounds from him. But what amazed me was I'm like, and I've said this before, I don't know how dragons know all this stuff. Like they've told me, to go and get a thumb drive so that I can keep things. They'll go, you need to put that on a thumb drive, or you need to go and do this. They're very prescriptive, my dragons. So I have a feeling that this. So I'm actually seeing. I wanted to say it was almost like it was like an image I got. I'm going to say Lord of the Rings or something like that. That this was a very regal dragon. That's sort of how I'm seeing him. Sort of, I even sort of sat up. Like if I'd have been sitting up, so I was lying down for the hypnosis, but I think if I was sitting up, like I would have, I feel very sort of like in that body and very present with this dragon. So again, blew me away because I thought that I might just channel a dragon, but it came from my solar plexus. And he talked about opening the solar plexus so that, to have this sort of transmission. So I think this is going to happen again. It was a very exciting weekend. We learnt a lot of things. I learnt that the being that I was talking to, the dragon I was talking to, was from Mars. And I have just recently this year discovered that my galactic origin was Mars. So we also wondered whether this was my higher self, which it could well be. I'm going to have to, I said I'll have to check in on that because that was the feeling people get. It could have been a higher aspect of myself because I also know that I have been a dragon, or dragons I'm hearing, but I have been a dragon and I've seen myself in Atlantis as a dragon. And this group was also very connected with Atlantis. And when I did, when I pulled some of my cards for them, most of the time Atlantis dragons came through. So awesome experience. I'm going to share it. I also, from that, I sold quite a few more of my Oracle decks. So, things are shifting for me. And as I've shifted, and we all know this, but sometimes we have to see it, right? We all know that if you do X, Y is going to happen. I think it's taking out the sometimes what I had put sort of like I wanted things to happen in and how I envisaged them happening. And I should have known that most of my life that hasn't happened. Like I have one plan, nature has another plan. And it's the same with the dragons. I had one plan and they were like, no. I do find that being more in the flow rather than trying to force anything or try to sell myself doesn't work. It's what am I attracting? Oh, there's the big aha moment for me. I have to attract it, not me go out and try and find it. I've never been good at selling that part of me, selling myself, because I think if people want that information, they will find me. So I'm going to do that manifesting. right? So again, I've got some aha moments now. It's putting out what I am, and it will come to me. I also have now a connection to do another podcast. Jodie just connected me with somebody out in the western part of the state or upstate New York. So I will be doing another podcast. I know that I'm doing a podcast with a couple of people in August, I think I'm booked in. So again, as I'm changing, Dragon Thunder's coming up. So there's lots of things that are coming up as I start shifting, right? My energy has shifted, my thinking has shifted. I've dropped a lot of baggage, and that's thanks to Casca Graham for doing work with her, working on all of the aspects of myself. But I just needed, again, I'd done a lot of work, and sometimes you just need somebody to help you, like I'm saying, over the mountain. That's what it feels like. You get to the top, but you need to get over. So again, finding people that speak to you, that's something that I do. I offer as a service. I do Dragon Empowerment Reiki, and I work with the dragons. And as you well know by now, the dragons are very active with me. They love working through me. When I do Dragon Empowerment Reiki, they work through me. They often run the session, and I do dragon chakra clearings, that energy, or you can do the whole package, or whatever you need. Sometimes just doing an oracle reading, I found recently, brings in all sorts of aspects. And the one thing I'm learning about my deck, and I'm 2 years since I've launched this deck, that it's confirmation for people. Even yesterday, when I did a handful of readings, it was all confirmation to them. Some people were at crossroads, some people were looking for answers. And as the dragons say, they don't always they won't give you a yes or no answer, because they have to give you the long one. But sometimes they just give you suggestions or phrase it differently. But either way, I'm working with my oracle deck, even though I developed it like 2 years ago. It's like working with it, working with the energy. And the same with the crow cards. They're new to me, so I'm still pulling them. Actually, last week I pulled them all week, and I posted what was in the booklet because it wasn't easy to get in and figure that out because the deck's new to me. I'm still loving the goddess deck. And I'm going to pull some cards from that. But, just wow. And, it's a big lesson to me for just following your path, truly feeling into what is in that. And this is all because the dragons want us to spread the word. And it could be an archangel doing this. It could be anybody. It's very similar energy. It's just that the dragons have told me I've worked with them in other lifetimes, and it was time to step into that realm again. And now I'm more confident with it. And what I'm hoping is that I will be able to channel the dragon without having to do hypnosis. And I think that's going to be practice. So if you're interested in that, I think after you've seen the video, you will have questions. I have a whole load of questions for the answers that were given. And it's like, and so if you've watched any other people that channel beings, archangels, I've listened to on my drive, I've listened to quite a few. There's always sort of confirmation that you're doing the right thing. So I had a 2.5-hour drive, and I literally, in the middle of driving, I was like, I need to listen to something because I had to get my GPS going. And I hit on First Level Soul, Alex Ferreira, and really, really interesting guy. I can't tell you his name. It was it was a 2 hour podcast. Halfway through it, they started to talk about dragons. And I was like, well, wait a minute, are they talking about dragons? And if you've watched Alex Ferreira, I mean, he was like, whoa, wait a minute, dragons? Where did dragons come from? And this guy said everything that I've talked about, just confirmed with me that everything that I'm hearing and what other people are doing. And you see this if you're following people that work with dragons, the information that comes out is often amazing. But it has a very similar theme, and I won't spoil it for you if you watch this my channeling. But at the end, there was a beautiful message, and also there was a couple of funny things in there. And I wouldn't even know that information. Just that, it confirmed that dragons have a sense of humor, and because again, we have to remember we have to lighten up. These are really tough times. There's so much energetically going on there. Even if you don't watch the news, which I don't, you can't avoid what is happening. And even if you listen to podcasts, people are talking about what's going on. Oh look, and the first goddess card I pulled is Sekhmet, be strong. You are stronger than you think you are, and your strength assures a happy outcome. So that's a really good card for this week, is to be strong. Oh, and also a follow-up on, I'll stop talking about I am still processing, what actually happened, because this was really big for me to actually do that level of channeling. But also, at the beginning of last week, at my work week, I knew that there was going to come a time where I had to stand my ground, not because I had to be right, but what had led up to all of this stuff is that oftentimes I will back down because I don't want to cause drama. I just don't want to cause a fuss. But I was like, it's time. Actually, what I said to myself is, it's time, Barbara, that you say what you need to say, and it needs to be accepted. And I think I mentioned that last week, that I'd responded to an email and said, no, I'm not going to do this, and this is the reason why. And the person had replied, thank you for your honesty. Well, I didn't trust that was really what she meant. And of course, the pressure was put on Monday in a face-to-face meeting. And I stood my ground and I said, absolutely not. I've given you my reasons why. And I ended the conversation and walked away from it. And I wanted to go outside and celebrate. But it proved to me that if we have a conviction, and once we know that what we're doing is right, and we all make mistakes, and I have caused all sorts of trouble, I know I have, because of my conviction, but I hadn't gone about it the right way. And this was asking for guidance, being guided, and going with, and if you'd looked at any of my cards the week before that, most of them came out of stand your ground, be strong, be open-hearted, all of that. I don't hold grudges against people. And I'm not in competition with anybody, and I could feel good about that. So if that has helped you, it's always worth standing your ground and, speak from the heart, because you really can't do anything wrong if you speak from your heart, right? So, Sekhmet, you are stronger than you think you are. Well, we all know that. We all doubt at times, right, about ourselves. Actually, the last 2 days, I've talked so much, my voice actually went hoarse. But that was a good thing. And my throat chakra was open, as was my solar plexus. So I think that was huge, right? And it was probably something I had to do because over lifetimes, I've not used, my throat chakra has always been an issue. So let's see what the crows have to say. Most days Gerald comes for his, as much as he can eat. I put out the bird food is a mixture of nuts because it's also no mess. For a few years when I used to feed the birds, they used to lose so much, after that they didn't eat, and it would all start to rot. So I went to the no mess. So that's a good thing. Let's see, what do we have here? Gifts. So we know that crows and ravens love to bring us gifts. I've not had that pleasure yet, but I probably need to start leaving something for Gerald that he may actually, but he loves to come, usually comes right after I've put out the food, because otherwise the smaller birds, obviously when he comes in, he's like, 100 times bigger than some of the little birds. They usually hang out on the feeders, but he does come in really fast. And I actually I've only seen one crow, but when I was leaving on Friday, I actually saw two crows, because usually they travel in pairs or more. Teamwork. So just what I was talking about, right? We need to work as a team. We need to work as a community, which I need to pay more attention to that and get out in my community. And abundance. So again, I love that. So that's for this week. The crows bringing us abundance, teamwork, and gifts. I'll post the from the book on there. So the fairies have also, actually, interestingly, some questions came up around fairies and dragons. And of course, the fairies had said what they've said to me, which is, we have fairy dragons and dragonflies, and there is a connection. There's a galactic connection, I believe, between the Fae and the dragons and the galactics. If you caught any of the photos that I took on my fairy walk, the day that they told me to go for a walk with fairy eyes, and maybe I should do that. Go for a walk with the eyes of a dragon. That could be interesting. And I'm still working with the energy of the Vatican dragons and the energy of the Vatican. I still need to do, it's still coming in small chunks. I think the last I talked about was the vision that I had of the green lawns at the Vatican. And I don't know if this is true, but they were showing me green pastures, and they told me that they were burial grounds, but there were not there were not gravestones, but there were markers, and they wanted me to take Sister Margaret, who is the past life memory I have of working with her at the Vatican in this 50-year period, and it's somebody that I have known in my current lifetime, who wouldn't surprise me that she was a nun. She was a very devout Catholic, and I believe she's no longer with us. I've tried to connect with her, and I've not heard back. And I know she'd been unwell, but in spirit, and we worked together. We were both nurses, and we were clinical nurses. I think that was the title again. And we used to have like such a laugh. And we also, would go, it was before I had children, and she couldn't have children. So it was a lot of fun with her and her husband. So this came up again. Oh, my cards are looking a bit worn, but I do like the energy of them. Stay grounded, put down your roots. So that was what came up a lot. And as you've heard me say before, that to reach those higher dimensions, that they're showing me to reach higher than the 12th dimension, the deeper you ground yourself, the higher energy you can reach. So they're saying if you can connect to Mother Gaia, it's that connecting to the core, and then you sort of feel and are connected to everything, then you will find that the higher vibrational beings you can connect to. So that's why they're saying this comes up so frequently. It's a reminder for all of us and for me. Oh, here's the ancient priestess dragon. Again, a lot of ancient energy came up at the weekend, helping you to harness your mystical powers. So if you're feeling, what's this one? Oh, Merlin. So Merlin wasn't quite front and center this weekend, but he was there. Merlin the Connector. So he was there with his magic. He's also here, as he says, with the priestess dragon to help with mystical powers, with magic. He's saying we all need magic in our lives. And it also brings us sparkle. And as he's saying, it can bring, he's going like this around me. Oh, that's the other thing as well. Spirals. I have to draw these spirals all weekend. Every meditation I did, every past life regression, I would see spirals coming down, and then other people were seeing spirals below that. So as above, so below. But so when I went in the beginning of doing the hypnosis, how I reached that realm was to go up a spiral staircase. I was actually, the instructions were to go upstairs, but I'd seen this spiral, which turned into a spiral staircase, which took me up. I've done that with Akashic Records with an elevator, but this was pink for me. I had this pink spiral staircase that I went up to the count of 20. And when I got to the top, we called in the dragon. So interesting. Lots of spirals, spiral energy. Lots of people we talked a lot about that, how it's sort of coming down. It's energy coming in. That's what I'm hearing. These spirals are energy coming in. So I feel like I need to draw that. There's so many things I feel like I need to do. I think I need take some time off. I haven't got time to work and do this, which is a good thing. So I'm not complaining about it. But sometimes I just need some time. And then I need time to rest, which I was hoping to do today. Guardians of the heart, open up to love. So again, lots of messages around love yesterday. And I say I won't spoil it because the last message is beautiful. I had on the video, it doesn't come across as deep as it sounded to me, but this was a very deep voice that came out of me. So what was I going to do now? Oh, fairies. Let's see what they have to say. So we've got the dragons, we've got the goddess, we've got the crow energy. We've got quite a lot going here, right? Oh, that's right. So the other thing I was just thinking was when we asked who was here, they said there were so many dragons that they couldn't fit into the room and they couldn't fit into the house. So we were surrounded with all these beautiful dragons. And I'd actually had, oh yes, that was also, I've had a very interesting week. I completely forgot about that. We did, in a group that I belong to, we work with the Galactics, come once a month and do a healing. And I had, again, these, first of all, that came into my room. We weren't sure, well, oftentimes it's a healing, but they said this could be information, it could be healing, it could be whatever. And again, this is something else I have to put on my list that I need to check more to. But first of all, I had half of my bedroom was filled with white beings. They weren't, I couldn't say they were angels, couldn't say they were dragons, just white beings appeared. And then they told me they were blue avians. And I have had some connection with blue avians, but not really worked with that energy. And then they just sort of showed me their faces. I can't remember what they were doing even. But my galactic healers are mantis, which I think I've shared before, that my first encounter with the mantis people, I was a little bit overwhelmed because they're about 7 foot or more tall, and they felt like, they were standing over me. And I don't really get claustrophobic, but it gave me that, like, oh, I didn't like that sort of, like, literally praying over you. But the blue avians were just, I actually saw them as like oval faces, very oval, blue faces. I can't say all of them were blue, but they were blue avians. And again, I believe they're higher. They're actually telling me, they're saying they're very high vibrational beings, not necessarily from planets, they're galactic, but they hold lots of high frequency energy, healings. They're saying we can call on them at any time during healing, or any time that we need personal healing. You just need to call on the blue avians. Somebody said it was because in this group we've talked a lot about the birds that have been attracted to us. And I keep remembering these things. And that was the other thing. I realised I talked about my chipmunk that appeared and was tapping on the window. I realised that the energy in my house had changed. And that, again, was thanks to Casca. She is doing some work with my son, and she had picked up that I hadn't picked up on this, but there were entities, quite a few entities in my home that might not have been for the good. So I got out the good old sage. I got some new fresh sage. Sage spray I love, because often you want to spray. I often take it to work with me, and I like spray around wherever I am. I used to work in a really, really old, very haunted building, and I never really liked the energy there, so I was always spraying smokeless sage. So you can't really go in and burn sage, but you can do that. So I have done that. I've also am more aware now of what is here. And then I realized after I shifted that energy that we started getting more animal or wildlife activity. I think I've told you I had, what did we have? What was eating my wall? I mean, all sorts of interesting things. Last year, a couple of years ago, it was the squirrels were trying to eat the side of my house. They all want to come in, I think. That's the problem, because I had that problem with cats when I used to accumulate cats. And my vet used to say, I think they just ring on your back door, come and knock on the back door. Because again, cats pick up on that energy. They know the homes to go to. So the most I've had is 5 cats. I now just have the one, and she's probably the equivalent of 5 cats. She's very needy, and she's being very vocal recently. So let's see. So I think that's, is that all? Is that all? Somebody said, oh, that's just a day in the life of Barbara. Oh, that's all. Oh, yes, I spoke with the Vatican dragons, and oh, yeah, that was today. And then somebody said, oh, that's just one day in my life. I do have days where I don't speak with the dragons or don't pick up anything, but you sort of learn to live with it. In the beginning, when I would get overwhelmed with the dragon energy, I had to learn to, and they've learned with me, as they've worked with me, they know when to pull back. They know when to, oh, you need to rest. And that's the message I've been getting, because I'm somebody, probably like a lot of you, that if I'm not doing anything, I feel guilty, even if my body's saying, you need to rest. So yes, I'm listening to my body more. And I'm pacing myself, but I'm just used to having that energy around me. And I think once you open yourself up to be a channel, I don't feel I need to like control it. But for some people that get so much stuff coming in all the time that they can't sleep, they can't rest, you have to sort of put some boundaries. I certainly would, because I've learned that it can be extremely exhausting, and it makes us as humans physically ill. So I've learned that as well, because I got physically sick prior to doing my Oracle deck. the energy was coming in so fast and they were so excited. And that is the one thing about dragons, that when you connect with them, they get very excited because you're somebody that can hear them, feel them, speak to them, whatever it is, or all of it. And I learned when I got physically ill, they said, oh, yes, we forget you're human and we will back off. So we've got the level sorted out. But it is easy for us to get overexcited about it as well. And so anyway, I'm glad that I now know that I have successfully channeled a dragon, even though I hear them all the time and I channel their words. I've not, I guess the word is allow the channeling through me, and that's called trans channeling. I think if you think of, like, when people used to think of seances back in the Victorian era, where they would go into a trance and then the person who had passed or whoever it was would come through and speak through them. It's sort of like that. I mean, it is trans channeling. So I'm excited about that. Another thing I can talk about. So I'm excited to connect with more people about podcasts. I have not been doing my podcasts, I know. It was something that I decided at the beginning of this year that, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I made a conscious decision that there was work I needed to do. I need to do some inner work, that I'd sort of run out of people on my list to interview, and I needed to drop something. I needed to change some things. I needed to go inward, and that's what I did. And here we are in June, and it's that change in my vibration, that change in how I'm thinking is paying off. So if you do a podcast, I haven't yet been the person that reaches out. I really want to. I love Next Level Soul podcasts with, and I so much want to reach out and go, we can talk about dragons. I'd love to come and talk about dragons. And I know that he has lots of people asking to go on his show, but he's somebody I would love to go and talk to, because his energy, everybody says his energy is like brilliant. He used to work in the film industry, and then got pulled into this. So who knows? I put things out there all the time, and I would never have thought that I would have been where I am now. So you never know. So let's see what the fairies have to say. Problem solved. So I've just talked about that. For me, my problem solved. So hopefully this week you will, if you haven't already, whatever the problem is, for those of you that resonates with, it's solved. Family harmony. I love bringing this one up because I love the blue. And they're reminding us how important it is. However big or small your family is, it's really important to have harmony. It's not about size. It's about, it could just be you and one other person. But if it isn't harmony, I don't have a big family. I didn't have, well, when I was married and lived in England, there was more in-laws and sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws. But there's just myself and my two sons, and then my brother and his wife who live in England. I still have ex-sister-in-laws and one brother-in-law. Quiet time. So again, these are confirming what I've just been talking about, how important it is to have some peace and quiet. And even if so they're saying, yes, we know it's not always easy to find, but you can find 5 minutes. Oh, and stand your ground. So just confirming, again, stand your ground, what I just talked about. If it's something you need to do, don't be afraid of doing it, or this could be confirmation that you've stood your ground. It probably goes for our country as well. There was a lot of people standing their ground yesterday. And then let go. So this looks like a dragonfly, about letting go. So she's giving it to the stars. So I talked a lot yesterday about the fire dragon, about when we shed, when we let go of all of the old things that are not serving us, that the fire dragon comes in and burns that from under us. He will burn a path in front of us. He'll go in and clear it. If you think of like being clearing the jungle, but all they have to do is like breathe out the fire and it just burns the pathway. So it takes away all the negativity. So they're saying, call us in. They're the red fire dragons. Lots of people seem to connect recently with fire dragons. It's also one of the elemental dragons. And one more. Oh, honor your true feelings. So again, confirming what I've been saying about honoring your true feelings. The fairies are so wise, aren't they? That looks like another dragonfly. So if you see a dragonfly today, you know that message is for you. So I think that's a lot. So I'm going to, it's much warmer today. The sun's shining. I'm going to get out in the garden. I've got some things I want to clean up. And, because this summer, spring was not, I don't even think we had spring. It was more cold than it was warm. And then we had some hot days. I've got some hotter days coming, I think, this week. But it's a nice day and it's always worth getting out in the sunshine. And who knows what I will hear. Be on the lookout for once I post my channeling on YouTube, I'll post it on my page. And also, I should also give a dig because where are we now? In about a month, Dragon Thunder will be happening. It's www.dragonthunder20. I'll post the link. Go onto my Facebook page. I'll post it on there. And also, I may have found a spot for an in-person Dragon Thunder for the East Coast that is out in Western Mass. And we've got like 3 states that it's easy to get to. So stay tuned for more about that. We may be doing an in-person USA Dragon Thunder or Dragon something. It may not be Dragon Thunder, but it will be an in-person all-day event. I've already put that out there a while ago. Actually, probably 2 years ago. There are a few of you, if you're watching this, there were a few of you that were interested in that. And I was thinking of doing it in the late spring because, again, it's New England. And as much as I'd like to say early spring, we could still have snow. So more to come on that. And if you're interested, contact me. You can find me on my website, which is www.eastcoastdragonlady.com, or you can email me at English Rose at eastcoastdragonlady@gmail.com. So I look forward to hearing from you, seeing you. Send me questions, anything that comes. If you watch my channeling, if you have questions, please send them to me. I also do a 45-minute clarity call, which is free. So if you think that you want me to do a reading, any of that sort of stuff, we can ask the dragons. I should probably call that Ask the Dragons, because most people that I've connected with usually have a question or want to know what a reading. And my readings are changing. As I've done more, as I've pulled in more energy, I definitely can see that they're changing. And literally, we can ask the dragons anything because they will give us an answer. And as they're reminding me that they don't always give you a direct answer, but they will give you an answer. So go to my website. I am not expensive. If you can't afford to pay me, you can tip me. I'm willing to work with people because what's really important is to get people to understand dragons and know that they're here, know that eventually we're going to be seeing, feeling, hearing them more often. Well, we are already. But one of the first things they told me when they started to connect with me was, we need you to get our message out. And that's what I'm doing. So have a great week, and I'll be back soon.